Welcome everybody to today's sit down. I'm so excited because it's an honor, first of all, to meet this young lady, but we've spent a little bit of time off camera just catching up and telling a little bit of a war story, and I expected, a totally different person to what I got. There is nothing that she hasn't competed in when it comes to enduro bike racing and off-road bike racing. She is the first African female to finish a Dakar race. Kirsten Landman. I received a beautiful, very soft-spoken young lady that is passionate about life. Welcome to the show. Thank you for agreeing to do this interview, and congrats on finishing.
Malaka, thank you for having me. It's good to be here, and it's cool to be getting onto different forums and sharing my story, and hopefully giving everyone a bit of inspiration and motivation to go live life to the fullest.
I'm going to kick it off with my first favorite question. And 2-3 years ago, you're 17.
I wish.
17-year-old version walks in, sits on the couch, and now we're processing with that version of you. What's important to you at that stage of your life? Are you already competing? Are you already like, I can't wait for this day to start when I can jump on my bike and go outside and be adventurous? Or are you playing netball? You're quite a tall girl. Are you playing netball? Are you interested in music? What's going on in your mind?
I think as the 17-year-old Kirsten, I was certainly ambitious in the sense of sport. I think nothing else mattered to me in life but sport.
Okay.
I think the 17-year-old girl, I would probably, knowing what I know today, and have experienced what I have in my 31 years of living, I would definitely take more advice from my mom, and had listened to her in the sense that life goes so quickly. It really does. You go through school and you can't wait till you're 18 so you can start going out into clubs, or not that was my goal or aspirations, but she was in the sense that just enjoy life while you can, enjoy the moments, make most of the time, because you grow up so quickly and you can't get back those years. Not that I regret anything in my life or that it happened between then and now, but small things like appreciating loved ones and spending time with loved ones, and just giving people a bit more time and probably a bit more patience, and also not just wishing away valuable years where you could have appreciated a lot more at that time. Because at 17 you know everything, you're invincible.
Absolutely, and bulletproof.
And bulletproof, yeah. And that's how I thought I was. I thought I was the cool cat and invincible and bulletproof, and that I could do anything. And unfortunately, but going through everything that I have gone through between then and now, it's brings you back down to earth and makes you realize that you're not. But I suppose that's life lessons, and that's what happens when you're a little arrogant 17-year-old and you need to be brought back down to earth. So I would just listen to my mom, try slow things down and enjoy life and not wish away the years.
But are you ready on bikes into motocross, or does that come later on in life?
Shucks, I've been riding since the age of 8.
Since the age of 8.
11 years into...
Who introduced you to...
So my dad rode, not professionally, he literally just had like a 125 that he would cruise around with after school and with his mates, probably didn't even have a license. And then my uncle, he grew up on bikes, not racing, but bikes was in the family.
Okay.
So when my cousin, we lived in the same complex, got his first bike, he was 4 and I was 7, and I saw his motorbike and I fell in love.
This is
and
me.
That was it, yeah. So I nagged my dad from the moment I saw his bike. And at the time I was already well into sports, and I was actually training for the Gauteng provincial squad at the time for swimming. And my dad said to me, if you make the provincial squad for swimming, I'll buy you a motorbike. So already there with the competition starting at a very young age. And that's how it started. So I got my first bike at the age of 8. And, obviously everything starts off as a love for the sport and a passion. And then it developed into a career.
So how did that happen? So I speak to singers, for example, and how do you sign a record? Do you go out in a bar and say, listen, everybody, I've got a song? How does that happen? Do you go and say, okay, I'm pretty good at this. I can do a few tricks. I can wheelie at a young age. I'm sure you've got one or two scores. We'll get into that later. But how do you get sponsored? How do you get seen? For all the youth that are going to watch this, that idolize you, how does one travel that journey to be seen?
Yeah, and I think, being a professional athlete and speaking across the board for any professional athlete, it comes with a lot of sacrifice. And it's not just me. Everyone sees me on the motorbike. I've got the support of my dad taking me to the track every weekend, and obviously initially outlaying all the money, because when you first start riding, it's a hobby.
Yes.
And motorbikes aren't cheap. Kit's not cheap. Putting fuel in the bike isn't cheap. Then loading up the bikes, going to the track,
you need cheap. Something to take
course.
It there.
So there was a passion from my dad, so that's obviously a big factor. If he didn't have the passion, I wouldn't be going to the track. Because from the age of 8 years old, I can't take myself to the track. I can't go buy the kit. So it definitely comes from the support structure, as is any young kid that wants to be a professional athlete now or starting at the age. These Olympic kids are already, they're 14 years old and they're winning gold medals already. So it's got to come from a good support structure. And I think a very important support structure where there's a fine line between letting the kid be passionate about it and then the parents becoming overbearing, and I think that can kill a lot of careers. And luckily I didn't have that. My father was like, you're not having fun, you stop racing. That's what it's all about. We do this for fun. Yes, it's dangerous. And my mom as well. As long as you're having fun, then you can do whatever you want. And that's what it always was from the get-go. You must have fun in everything you do. And then, the swimming carried on from 8 years old up until high school at provincial level. But I got to a point where I was just hating it, I was very good at swimming. But because I think I was pushed quite hard at a young age, and it wasn't fun. I mean, it's not the most social sport.
Who pushed you? Was it a coach that pushed you, or
my dad not in a nasty way. He's a very encouraging way, and he believes, and that's also the big thing, is the belief factor. So he saw the talent at what a good swimmer I was at. I mean, I was 7 years old and I was going to the summer games and winning in 2 age categories above me, because you're too young to swim then. So, if you've got a kid that's already that good swimming at such a young age, you kind of, but as a kid, you also don't know how to draw the line with your parents. I mean, 7 years old, you don't even know what you want for breakfast.
Yes.
So I'm a social person. I like to be able to, I enjoy what I do. And that was a big thing. And swimming is just head down in the pool. It's just you in your mind, and not that that's a problem, but it's a hard sport. It's a very, very, very hard sport. Not that motorbiking isn't, but it just didn't tick the boxes and that sense of adventure that I loved.
Gotcha.
So I said to eventually got into the pool one day. We were training in winter, and I said, I can't do this anymore.
Wow.
And my dad more upset than I was, because obviously it's not a talent gone to waste, but I think it's just you can't, if I'm not passionate about it, how do you force someone to do it?
Can't.
So and that kind of ended. I carried on swimming throughout school, but then the motorbiking was always there. And I used to ride. I probably used to swim because of my dad. Would be like, we'll go riding on the weekends. So it was probably something along that line, because that's how I won the bet to get a motorbike. Because if I made challenge me, and I'm up for it. I've been challenged from a young age, and as I have in my whole career. So that's kind of been my fire and my light to do what I've done. So transitioning into the biking comes from support structure. The belief, is a big thing. My dad was always the only girl. When I was first, was never saw other girls on a motorbike. So when I was growing up racing, when I got my first proper bike, a little RM85, I was 14, and I was now racing against the boys. The class was really small. It wasn't on a national level. It was out in, I don't know if you know Daytona, where Stain City is now.
Yes.
There was a whole massive off-road park there. And we started racing the club races there, and there was like me amongst 4 or 5 other boys, and then I started to do better and better and better, and never with the intention to be a professional at this. It just fun. I enjoyed it. My dad enjoyed being at the track with me. He started making track friends. I started making track friends, which now became a lifestyle.
Yes.
I still had my school friends, and I was still very competitive in my school sports. And my parents were adamant of, trying to do well in school and get through school sports. And then my dad eventually started taking me riding once a week in the weekday on a Wednesday afternoon, and then school sports were every other day, and then on Saturdays and Sundays on the weekends.
Riding.
Never with the push to go like riding, never to push me to you can make a career out of this. Never, ever, ever, ever. Like never. I mean, yes, little 8-year-old Kirsten wanted to be a professional sportswoman when she grew up, but she didn't know what. As long as she was playing some sort of sport,
yes.
that was. I mean, me sitting at a desk or behind a computer or being indoors, that wasn't an option. It was never written in my my future plans for me. So it just I got through school, and then I think this was the break for me where my parents gave me a gap year. But at the same time, dynamics had changed, and affordability with racing, they couldn't afford it anymore. And they said to me, if you want to do this, we'll give you a gap year. And as well, I left school not knowing what I wanted to do, still with that hope of becoming a professional sportswoman. Obviously now steering towards the biking, but my parents couldn't afford it anymore because racing becomes expensive. And obviously to get sponsors, you've got to enter races because you now need to get ranked.
And you need to get noticed. Exactly. So there's a ranking system.
Well, not necessarily. In South Africa, a women ranking system, there's not enough female. I mean, worldwide, there's not enough female to really get a ranking system within, hard enduro and rally. It's still very much a development sport for women. Mm-hmm. And riders like myself have always been competing against men. If I start on the start line next to another girl, it's like, this is awkward.
Like, hello, give you a hug, welcome.
It's normally always just, and I see myself as a fellow competitor amongst the guys, and that's how I've always gauged myself. I've never gauged myself against females because I've always only ever been the female, and I think that's also been the difference with me and other riders, is that I've always compared myself to a guy, not in the same physicality, but in terms of performance. I'd always try, and if I wouldn't I'd get upset if I was beaten by guys, so I wanted to be ranked against them because that's how I was brought up, because I was always racing against guys. So leaving school, when my parents gave me the gap year, they said, we've got the motorbike, you've got the kit, we've bought you a car, so now you need to put the fuel in your car, and you need to put the fuel into your bike.
Welcome
and you need
to the real world.
That's it. You need to get to the races, and if you want to carry on with this, you're going to have to get sponsors. So that year I worked really hard on my fitness, my riding, rode as much as I could afford. I would have ridden every day if I could, but I couldn't. I mean, I was now paying for it myself, and as well, the bikes are working costs, so tires and oils,
maintenance,
and there's always something that needs to be fixed or replaced. So I was then working 3 jobs just to try and pay for my racing and my race fees.
What were you doing?
So, you're a 19-year-old, first year out of school. I was au pairing kids, youngsters out of school. So I'd pick them up from school, take them home, do homework with them. My mornings were free. That's where I'd get my training in. And then after that, in evenings, on some nights of the week, I was a promotion girl for Peroni beer, trying to give away free beer in Parkhurst. Wasn't so easy.
That's a tough job.
And me with a dress and heels on, so that's also a very tough job. So, and then I was also coaching hockey. So I don't play netball, you mentioned that earlier at all. I was big into my hockey in school. I also played Wits hockey when I left school because I loved hockey, very passionate about hockey. I was coaching at primary schools hockey on the other afternoons it's all sports related, and just trying to earn a bit of money to try and pay for my racing. And that year I worked really, really hard, entered the club races, and I got noticed, which is what I wanted to do. I picked up my first sponsor in 2011 with Bidvest Yamaha. They were, you've got 2 or 3 big satellite factory teams within South Africa, obviously the biggest one being the Brother Leader Trade KTM team with KTM South Africa. And then you had Yamaha South Africa, which had the proudly Bidvest Yamaha team back then. And I mean, for me to get sponsored, get given a bike, full kit, and all my races paid for was like, wow, I've hit the jackpot.
Beautiful, yeah.
Yeah, now I could go racing and I could now compete on the national series.
Yes.
Which is also getting the exposure out there.
Of course.
You know, not earning any money from it, but flip, I've now just been given a bike and I've been given tires and all the stuff where I was having to pay for myself, or previously before I was paid for myself, my parents were paying for it. So now I could race, and I could, you know, because it was kind of like, if I don't make it in this gap year, give up the racing and go study something and have you know, take on a normal career like all my other school friends had done, and give up the dream of becoming a professional sportswoman. So, you know, stars aligned and I got that sponsor, and I raced on the national series for the first 2 years, and I didn't finish first 2 years. I think it was the first year and a half. So the national series is set for the top guys. Obviously, these top guys were like guys the like of Lawrence Mahoney and Jade Goodsight and Daryl Curtis and Rian van die Kerk. And these guys weren't just the best in South Africa. They were going overseas and competing internationally, and they're the best in the world.
Beautiful.
So
and
now
you were competing against them.
Yes. So now I'm going into this little 19, 20-year-old blonde girl, never raced.
How do they treat you?
Oh, the guys were incredible throughout my whole career.
Okay.
Yeah, there's never, I mean, enduro, rally, you always get there's always a naysayer somewhere. Okay. That's okay. You'll find them in every sport. You'll find them at every robot. You'll find them anywhere.
But they welcome you with open arms.
Yeah, very supportive.
And are they sharing little tricks and secrets with you openly?
For sure. Yeah. You know, I think everyone keeps their own little secrets.
Yes.
But I'm always eager to help if I asked a question. Like coming onto the Bidvest team, I was on the team with Lawrence Mahoney and Jade Goodsight then. So to be rubbing shoulders and teammates with guys of that caliber was
that's
like
incredible.
I grew up like idolizing those guys, and now I'm on the same team as them. It's like, wow. So that was very cool, and I learned a lot. But that year was also, you know, it was exceptionally tough. I mean, I've entered these races. My first race, it took me 7 hours to do one lap, and I was supposed to do 4 laps. It took me 7 hours to do one lap. I got back in. I was so dehydrated. I was vomiting. I couldn't keep anything down. I had to go to hospital and go get on a drip because I had pushed so hard, but I made sure that I finished my one lap. And then, you know, I could have decided then that this is too tough for me, you know, that this is a sport not for me. Yes, maybe it is for guys, not for girls. And I could have, you know, kind of given up. Yeah, that finishing that first race, well, not finishing, I hadn't been checkered flagged, was exceptionally tough. And it was like, can I do this? You know, should I be here? Do I belong here? And a lot of the times you're saying, and I've had it throughout my career, and you going back to that question, the great guys are great, but throughout my whole career I've had, this is not a sport for women, this is not an industry, you know, you guys aren't built, naturally you're not built strong enough to be able to handle the motorbike, the speed, the power to pick up the bike, because the sport is extremely physical. It is. You're riding a bike that weighs between 90 to 120 kilos of an enduro bike, and then like my Dakar rally bike, 180 kilos, between 180 to 200 kilos once all your stuff's on it, if not more. So me at the time, I was probably 60 kilos, 62 kilos then, starting racing in extreme terrain, and you didn't doubt yourself. But I mean, from a little 8-year-old girl to have now gone through school, and you know, it had been tough, but I mean, now I had got a sponsor, and I now couldn't just let myself down, and I had sponsors. So went to the next race, didn't finish it, went to the next race, didn't finish it. But each lap went from 7 hours to 6 hours to 5 hours to 4 hours. The whole of 2011, I didn't get flagged once. I did not cross the checkered, I didn't get flagged. But luckily I had signed a 2-year contract with Yamaha.
So we have to give you a chance. You are improving. Let's work with you.
I started getting better and getting close to finishing. And then 2012, halfway through the season, I finally finished.
Boom.
I finished the national. 4 laps, got the checkered flag, and I mean, a year and a half of really struggling and scrumming out there and crying and getting frustrated, but going back every time and working on what, you know, getting my fitness better, getting stronger on the bike, getting better at my technical skills, getting faster on the motocross track. And also it was a huge learning curve, you know, and then from there onwards, it was just like, the rest of the races just clicked. I finished all of them throughout the rest of the season, and then my contract had come to an end in 2012 with Yamaha, and I signed with KTM South Africa the next year. Beautiful. And I mean, they're the most prestigious, well-accomplished, biggest off-road manufacturer in the world, and the biggest one here in South Africa. And now I was on the team with even bigger names, you know, in enduro, in off-road, motocross. I mean, So now it was now, and I was now on the best bike. Yes, the Yamaha was great, but the bike that was the best bike for the enduro and off-road was the KTM. You know, kind of everyone's like, it's like the creme de la creme of bikes. And started racing in 2013 with them, and it's just, you know, I keep going off track of where you are wanting to ask me, and how does it develop into a professional career, and where do you get it from? It's just support, you know. Sport's expensive. It takes belief from, you know, initially the belief starts with the family, then it's with the friends, and then it's with yourself. Of course, there's a lot of times when you're out there you doubt yourself, and then it's going out there and proving yourself to others to make them believe in you, and it's maintaining that belief. You know, you've got to build that loyalty, which has been a big thing of mine with my partners over the years and my sponsors. Is yes, they're you know, at the end of the day, a lot of people will see it as kind of as a commodity. You know, it's a, you know, give and take, where, you know, they give you the product, you stand there and you say that it's the best, or whatever the case may be in your contract. But for me, I always try to believe in every brand that I've worked with. You know, if I'm taking the product, I take the product. You know, if I say the bike's the best, the bike's the best. You know, or the tire's good, I'm not going to just say it's good because you're giving me X amount and free tires.
It's a true representation.
Exactly, and that's what I've always tried to. Well, my parents installed it into me from a young age. You know.
So, a sports person, you know, I'm just, in my own words, what you said. I'm competing against the boys, but I'm actually competing against a competitor, boy or girl. It's nice to compete against a girl, but it's strange. So it's not a thing of, I didn't finish. I was waiting for you to say I didn't finish in time because I was the only girl on the team.
I know.
I didn't finish because I wasn't good enough yet. I was dehydrated. I was throwing up. I went on an IV, but I came back. And 7 turned into 6, into 5, into 4. And a year and a half later, I finished the race. So there's no victim card on you. Nothing.
No.
There's no victim card. I love that. Which means, okay, I am now going from a very good team into the creme of the creme. Now I get the opportunity to see how the absolute masters do it. Now my game is going to come, you know, even better, because now I can rub shoulders with even bigger stars and learn from them. There's no victim mentality. Yes, for a year and a half, it's very easy, you know, to speak about it now because, it's a year. A year and a half is bloody long. It's 18 months. 18 months of, you know, constantly being told you're not built for this.
Failure.
You're too small. It's not going to work out. How are you managing that relationship with your sponsor that believed in you, but you're not even finishing the race? Those are very technical conversations you're having with yourself, never mind with other people. I really admire that.
Thank you.
And if you could say the one or two things that you've learned over the years that potentially somebody starting off in your sport right now, if you could have those one or two qualities right at the beginning, it would really serve you. What are those one or two things?
I would definitely don't doubt yourself, because there was a lot of times in my career where I doubted myself. So I'd definitely say, definitely don't doubt yourself, which comes on from a belief. I wish I had just a bit more confidence in my abilities. And also, you know, the whole time you've got, you know, you're saying you've got people saying to you, you shouldn't be here. And because, you know, like as a young little girl back then, I never had the person I looked up to then was Penny Haynes, because she was a swimmer and I was a swimmer, you know, but I never had someone in my career who had kind of pioneered the road to say, hey, she's done it, I can do it. So it was really hard because, you know, we didn't have women finishing Roof of Africa's. We didn't have women doing Dakar rallies.
That you could potentially email and say, listen, I need your help.
Or we didn't have access to social media to see it.
Very important point. You were trailblazing. You were going through the snow and making
figuring
the road.
it all out myself. And also, you know, as doing that year and a half of going through race on race. Also, I mean, we weren't exposed to training regimes, you know, the sort of nutrition we have now, the help that you can get for free online, as opposed to a lot of my racing in my career during all the beginning was all trial and error. You know, I was figuring it all out myself doing it the hard way.
Do you mind going into your dietary requirements? Let's tackle I love the subject. I've lost a whole bunch of weight in the last year, like 30 kilos.
Sure.
And I'm passionate about food.
Okay.
What sort of, do your calorie intake increase obviously during that time? How do you maintain the fitness level and still be strong enough? How does that balance work?
So over the years, my physique's actually changed quite a bit. I've always been tall and fairly skinny. I've never been overweight because I'm such an active person. I love food. So if I didn't exercise,
we all do.
I'm a big foodie. I love food. I live for food, and I think I exercise for food. So I think if I didn't exercise, I'd probably be as fat as a house. But in terms of my nutrition and eating, I don't necessarily eat what I want. I try to eat clean because I enjoy food. I get joy out of eating food. I come from a family of foodies, so eat as clean as I can. But from being such a competitive swimmer at such a young age, I've always believed that, and I've been a female in the male-dominated sport, and having to be in such a physically demanding sport with the motorbike and having to maneuver it around, and I've always made sure, or tried to make sure, that my fitness would never let me down. I'd always try to eliminate I'd have I've got a checklist mentally. I train. I believe that what you put in is what you get out. So literally, it's a simple equation.
Yes.
In anything in life.
Agree.
And if you prepare to fail, you fail. If you fail to prepare, you prepare to fail.
Agree.
So going into an event where I know I got to tick my boxes. Okay, I've trained as hard as I can, but making sure I haven't overtrained. And back in the day, being little innocent, arrogant Kirsten, 17-year-old invincible, was training 2-3 times a day. But later on in my career, 2017, I got Epstein-Barr virus, which is from overtraining. It's a virus that just saps your immune system, and you pick up every virus around you. And the only thing that can make you better is just rest. Literally, I lay on my back for 6 weeks, and it lies dormant, so it never leaves your system. So that's something from being the 17-year-old kid, bulletproof kid that thinks, I must train hard. And it's something that I try to tell the kids of today and these youngsters that come into racing, you don't need to train that hard, but that's something you learn over. Yes, you need to train hard, but you don't need to be training 3 times a day.
Yes.
Yes, it's cool now because you can get up tomorrow and you can do it again, and you can do it again, and you can do it again. But when you're 30 years old and you're sitting with a virus that you can't do anything, it's only later on in life that you figure those things out. So, it's been with, trial and error with figuring out things with fitness and training, and making sure that I was always the fittest was one of those boxes that I would do. Eating really well was another thing. Hydrating really well, and I've done the overhydration where I've gone into a race and I've lost all my electrolytes leading up to the event because I overhydrate, and that is way worse than underhydrating. So
really,
overhydrating is I've experienced overhydration, both overhydration and dehydration.
So what's the difference? Do you feel dizzy? Do you feel tired?
So overhydration is the same as dehydration, but I think heightened. My personal experiences, so overhydration, where I think it's worse because you've now lost all your liquids from going to the loo often obviously, because you've drank so much, and thinking that you need to drink, you wee out all your electrolytes, and now you're out there and you're exerting high energy levels, and you're pushing really hard, and your heart rate's really high, and now you start to cramp. The cramp sets in, you can't set it out because you've now lost all your nutrients, and you think now drinking is going to take the cramping away, so you keep drinking more. And it's just a literal downward spiral. It's horrible. Then now everything you drink, you throw up. And then afterwards, it's just you've got no energy because also you've thrown up everything now. So everything you eat or eat or drink, it's a mess. I suppose it's the same as underhydrating.
But just heightened. And what I'm picking up is I like a checklist. I'm a checklist person. So, have I trained enough? Yes. Yeah. Have I eaten clean? Yes. Am I technical enough for this terrain?
Yeah.
if I've trained enough, then it will tick this box. What else is going on? What are you checking?
Throughout my career, and then I've had a pretty strong mind in the sense of tell me I can't do something and I will go.
I can see that competitor.
Yeah, that's if you tell me something that I, say women are not supposed to be in motorsport. I'll show you that we are here. We can be treated as a fair competitor. Tell me to enter the ladies' route, not taking away anything from ladies that enter the ladies' route, but I will race for a year and a half and not finish, but I will eventually finish the guys' route. So that for me, the mental aspect is massive. To be able to deal with yourself when you're in that deep, dark place of I can't carry on. I'm doubting my abilities. I'm frustrated. I'm dropping my bike. I'm hot. I'm tired. I've damaged my bike, but you've still got another 300 kilometers or 60 Ks left of the loop, or you've got another four laps. Put it behind you, move past, and carry on.
So I wanna ask you, because I love working with competitors, and a lot of my colleagues are, a personality type, a lion personality type that you are. Who's in your helmet? Who's speaking to you, and what are some of the things that they're saying to you while you're in a race?
So, going back to what we just said now, and then I'll jump back to that now. When I started to work with a mental coach, and I had quite a change in my life, I became quite spiritual in the sense that certainly believe in a higher being, but more on a spiritual level. And I started doing meditation because I find that I needed to calm my mind, because the type of person I am and my personality, I'm always thinking and I'm always overthinking.
Yeah.
And then I am still to this day
playing out scenarios.
Exactly.
If then, why?
Why don't do this? Why are you here? But you've been through this. Why are you doing this? But you've prepared for this. You can get through this. But then it's natural for us to doubt ourselves, but it's being able to overcome that. So I speak a lot. Pray. Call it praying. I pray a lot. I think in the sports and in the world we live in today, call it talking to a higher being, or call it talking to God. A lot of times at Dakar, I spend a lot of time just talking. Yes, I may be talking to myself, I may be talking to God, but it's just looking for guidance, and in a sense that making me believe in myself. And then something will happen, I'll be like, oh wow, that's amazing. And yes, maybe a God giving me a sign or whatever it is, or it could be I'm also a big strong believer of the law of attraction. What you put out, you get back.
Yes.
So I'd like to be a positive, forward thinker. If I go outside and we've got all this, and a lot has changed with COVID. It's also made a major big mindset change in my life as well, where opposed to going outside and walking out, coming back to Joburg. I was talking to Ronnie about it now. Just seeing the change in Joburg. I used to live here, and coming back here now, being in Cape Town, and just seeing the deterioration. But as opposed to seeing all the litter, I thought, this place has got so beautiful and green because of all the rain. So I'd seen a glass half full as opposed to half empty. Yes, we live in tough times, but it's not going to change. You just got to adapt and look for the good things in life, and make the most out of what we have, because we all get the same cards dealt. Absolutely. I believe at the end of the day. And yes, other people come from harder backgrounds, but we can also change them. You can live life and feel sorry for yourself, or you can go back and look at the cards you've been dealt and change that going forward.
It's what do you subscribe to? So 2 brothers, I heard this beautiful story the other day. 2 brothers, their father was a raging alcoholic. One becomes highly successful and doesn't touch a drop of alcohol, and one becomes a raging alcoholic. It just depends how you
see it.
Like you said, either glass is half full or half empty.
Yeah.
You're such a positive person. I think if there's one drop in the glass, you'll know what to do with it.
I try. And there's moments of many. I have many moments where I wake up in the day and I doubt myself. And there's times I'm at Dakar now, 2023, where I'm riding. I'm like, what the hell are you doing here? I mean, I had the one day, it was probably one of the most difficult days because I'd hurt my back the day before when we got into the empty quarter, which was the big dunes. and I had strained my back. I know how to pick up a motorbike, but I mean, we're now on stage 9, stage 10.
How many kilometers have you traveled at that stage already?
So we did 14 stages. By then, we probably at about
5,000
6,000 kilometers already. I mean, my total rally racing time, just racing stages at the end of the rally, was 67. Sorry, I've just got a big. It was 67 hours of racing over 14 stages. 67
That's
hours
unreal.
of racing.
That's
So that's just racing. Never mind what with the time we had spent on liaison. Going from the start, from bivouac to racing stage, then home on the liaison. Those distances were also massive. So by then you've got so much fatigue, you're tired, and what is the norm on a good day, you forget about because you're so tired now. So
Yes.
I dropped my bike in the dune, going over the crest of the dune because these dunes were so massive. I've never ridden dunes like this in my life. I'm tired, it's hot, and you're nearing the end of the rally, but it also just feels like it's dragging on. And I dropped my bike, and I know how to pick my bike up in the dunes because I train people motorbiking, and I never pick up the bike with your back. Use the strongest part of your body, which is your legs. Keep your back straight in like a squat position and pick it up.
Pick it up.
And there goes me and picks up the bike with my back. Oof,
Oh, no.
pull my back. And now you're sitting there thinking, okay, my back's in agony. I feel like I'm winded. And you now know, it starts going through your head. You've still got another 3,000, 4,000 kilometers to go. You're in the dunes with empty quarter. I mean, this is day 1 in the empty quarter. Imagine what they're going to throw at you for the next so many thousand kilometers. And then what I did after that is I just kept dropping the bike. Next day I went out and I kept dropping my bike. And you just start to, doubt your ability, your riding skill. And on a stupid thing like dropping your bike when you've been riding motorbikes your whole life.
Yeah.
And that's when you start to question yourself and why are you here? Why are you doing this? And why are you putting yourself through this? But I think it's how you overcome that and move past it. And I also think overthinking things is also a lot of our biggest demise within humans is we overthink things.
Yeah.
I try not to overthink because if I overthink, then again you go into that deep hole. If I want to do something, I just commit.
Commit and go for
And
it.
I make sure I tick all my boxes because then I know that if I'm going into this, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it properly. I'm not going to do anything half-heartedly.
No half-hearted stuff.
No.
Okay. If you were to land mines, give us the GPS coordinates of a mistake that you've made. That was a beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, you train people how to ride motorbikes and how to pick them up. And at that moment, whether it was fatigue or you were maybe preoccupied in your mind, not focusing on the task at hand, you picked that up with your back, pulled your back. Can you give us 2 or 3 other landmines that you've stepped on in your career and that was like, shucks, I hope no one else does this?
I would say, I'm just thinking about it, everything that's happened in my life and in my career, it's helped me to get where I am today. So whether it was call it a landmine, it would have been a tough time, but I like to think, if nothing's lost if something's learned. So
yes. You never lose the lesson.
Exactly. So
Good.
I don't think yes, I've had broken bones and I've made silly missed decisions, but nothing that's been really stand out. But I think as an athlete, and if there is athletes listening and they, we become reliant on sponsors. And for me, learning with dealing with sponsors and, figuring out, obviously, as you get more well-known, you have more ground to stand on.
Yes, more leverage.
When you're a first upcoming early rider, you'll kind of literally sell your soul for anything.
Yeah.
And if you can and you have the backing, otherwise, don't sell your soul for what other, for having a sponsor, I'd say stay true to yourself and your beliefs. And if the brand or the association with that sponsor or whatever it may be in life pulls you away from you staying true to yourself, avoid.
Because it
causes a lot of heartache and pain and unnecessary.
The inevitable is coming.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Love the advice. Thank you.
Pleasure.
And it takes a village to raise a young lady. It took a very big village to raise an amazing young lady like you. 3 people that course corrected you in life, that I'm sure your dad had a major part in supporting you and having the EQ to push you just enough so that it was fun, but you are still improving. Because that doesn't come naturally. That's just very, very high EQ levels to push you to constantly grow and challenge the boys and whoever else came your way. Who else can you mention to us that had an effect?
Certainly my mom.
Mom as well.
My mom she was very much on the sidelines, in the sense that not literally on the sidelines. She couldn't be at the races because it was a dangerous sport.
Was it too much for her? I can't see my girl.
No, she can't see me. She came and watched one race and I asked her to leave because she came into the pits and she's crying. Why are you crying? I'm fine. She's like, it took you so long. And I'm like, this is normal. And I was sweating and I looked exhausted, but I mean, that's what the sport does to you.
Yes.
So she's only ever watched one race.
You're like, no, I can't handle you and
exactly,
this.
Yeah, shame. But she was always the biggest support from come home, preparation. She would take me to wherever I needed to be. My mother was certainly a massive, massive part of my career. And me as a young woman, and just in advice in life, the most mutual, understanding, non-judgmental, intelligent woman that, just in terms of making financial decisions and, responding to sponsors without being, just like that ground-based, that advice and, do this and don't do that. Should never tell me what to do. Should always say, how does it make you feel? Or make me make the decision, but guide me through it so that I can come up with the right decision myself.
It's very tough to do.
And if it was wrong, she would let me make the mistake, but let me learn so I could learn from it. Beautiful. So she was an incredible mother and such a strong woman. And my strength is all my strength that I have. Everyone says to me, where do you get your strength from? And how are you such a strong woman? And I think it's because I was raised by a strong woman.
Beautiful.
My sister as well, she's been an incredible part of this. With this sport and this industry and being a professional sports person, you need to have a good support structure, and that starts from a little tot. And I've had my strong pair, my mom, my dad, and my sister. She always, when one sibling's kind of, it's hard to have two siblings or three siblings, with two parents that are, you're trying to spread. No one really has that much time.
Yes.
So not that she wanted to be a professional sportswoman, but
what does she do?
She's a chef.
Oh, awesome.
That's why I love food.
Okay, good.
And she loves mountain biking, and but she's definitely not that professional athlete kind of person, but she was always supportive, and, she would never feel that she was getting left out because my parents were putting all their time and devotion into me. She was always that supportive sibling. So yeah, my sister was a very big role in that sense. And then, of course, now as my later that's two. So going into my later career, and having access to social media and seeing now with more women competing in the Dakar. I think when I first caught a glimpse of Laia Sanz, she's a Spanish female rally rider, now car racer. It was probably like 2013, 2014 when we kind of social media kind of got going.
Yes.
And I mean Laia's best finish at the Dakar against the guys is in the top 10. So
beautiful.
For a woman to go and finish top 10 at a Dakar rally against the men.
Yes, that's incredible.
Yeah, no, she's like one of those she's like the greatest of all times, and I don't think anyone will ever be as good as her. I mean, Ross Branch, we all know who Ross Branch is. His first Dakar, she beat him.
Amazing.
Yeah. So
amazing.
Come on.
So through social media, were you able to get into contact? Listen, yes. I'm a huge fan.
Oh no, now we can chat to each other on a daily basis, which is beautiful. Incredible. I got to meet her in 2020, and beautiful. I was like starstruck. I still am starstruck when I meet her because, at the same time, she's a nice person and she's got good values and morals. She loves animals. And she's just a good person, and she would never think that talking to her, not that we as athletes are any different, but she's just down to earth, good person, and she's done incredible stuff for the sport. And she's been, later on in my career, I wish I had seen her earlier, but, she's been my kind of idol, and someone to aspire to be like. I don't think I'll never be as good as her, but she's showing us that, you can not just be the best within a club or an event or in your district in South Africa or whatever, but you can be amongst the best world with the level. Boys in the world. So
that's if I may say it, and you can tell me probably I disagree with you, but I'll say it anyway. Speaking to a lot of young sports people in our country, we always have the sense that because we're from South Africa, maybe we're not good enough. But I think we are. I know we are.
Yeah.
I think that humbleness, I'm not saying it needs to go away.
Yeah.
It needs to be there, but it needs to be in check a little bit more, because you have sacrificed, you have trained, you have worked your backside off, you've endured injuries and. So you are good enough to compete at that level, and you're good enough to win.
Yeah.
So I want to challenge you a little bit there. Not that you said not that I'll be as good as her, but what if you are? What if you're better?
Yeah, it's I know what you're saying there, and I don't think it doesn't come from me speaking. It doesn't come from I don't believe in myself. I just don't think that the exposure to that level at that age, and the same for South African athletes, we're not exposed to the level of the sport in different countries.
That's true, 100%. We had a discussion with Dr. Kumalo a couple of months ago, and with Mark Fish as well, and he said to me, at 13, you're already in a soccer school in England. You are going to school, but your attention is, how to read the game, what food to eat. You are getting coached by the best coaches. You have the best kit.
Yeah.
And here we're playing without shoes in the grass, or most times in the street with 2 bricks as goals. That's how I grew up.
Yeah.
And there is a difference. You are right, 100%, 100% right. What's the best advice that you've ever received that you can share with us? Maybe in your sport and in life. So in your sport, this is a riding position, or this is, the best advice that served you, and then in life as well that you can share with us.
I know this sounds probably a bit backwards, but the best advice someone has given me is to tell me I can't do it.
You that person.
I'm that person, yeah. So the moment, yes, I've been given incredible advice over the years, and been on riding styles, and I've gone and done training schools with people, and you can get that, look up for that advice on YouTube, and you can pick it up all that sort of stuff. But for me, I think the moment someone says to me, you don't belong here, or as a little 8-year-old girl that drew on, when you're in school and they draw an illustration of what you want to be when you grow up. I wanted to be a professional sportswoman. And then later on in high school, I was, still living that to be a professional sportswoman. And a teacher said to me, you have a 1 in a million shot of doing that.
Oh.
And I thought to myself, lady, I'll show you that I'm a million. Yes. So that for me has been my motivator. And also I myself, in a sense, I've doubted myself. But my other's like, Kirst, you can do this. You can overcome this. You can get through this. I mean, Dakar now, I found out now I've actually been at the cardiologist for the last 2 weeks dealing with, actually I got a bit of heart problems from Dakar, because I was so sick at Dakar, I got COVID, and then my results came back. So I actually raced Dakar with COVID. Out of the 14 stages, I had 9 of them I was so sick. And that, it's just overcoming those things, and overcoming mechanicals, and overcoming fatigue, and if you just have your eye on the prize, and there's things that come not necessarily directly at you, like you shouldn't be doing this by getting COVID. That's, some people see that as a sign that you shouldn't be racing, or a bike breaking down and fixing it, and your bike breaking down and you having to fix it again, and your bike breaking down and fixing it again. There's lots of points there that are coming through and saying you shouldn't be doing this, or you should give up. That for me those are like motivation. They're just obstacles to overcome, which are exceptionally hard at the time, but once you've accomplished them, it makes it all worth it. So I fuel out of being told I can't do something, or I fuel out of someone challenging me to something.
I'm smiling because I'm very fortunate to work with a couple of people that are wired like I'm wired the same way. So you can throw money at people, it will push them to a point.
Yeah.
The moment you have a true competitor, you're a competitor. You want to go and kill everybody. That's your mentality. I know it is.
Yeah.
If I say to you, if we're working together, if I say to you, look, in 6 to 12 months, if we hit these numbers, you're going to become a branch manager. And when you become a branch manager, XYZ is the financial income. I've lost you. Have I lost you already? But, you know, if I come to you and I say, look, and it's not even a boy or girl thing, it's a competitive thing. If I say to you, look, we have 6 branches, very capable branch managers. You know, some of them say that potentially you could be this new 7th one, but most of them feel that you don't have it in you.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, there we go. Now you're going to light the world on fire.
Yeah.
And, you know, knowing how to deal with a pure competitor, man, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun, you know, it's fun having people like that around.
For sure. And maybe it's because growing up being a female in a male-dominated industry, they were saying from a young age, you know, but obviously that's just noise in the background.
Yes.
And focusing at...
Noise and fuel.
Yeah, that's it, noise and fuel.
Noise and fuel.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. If you could spend a day with someone, dead or alive, who are you spending the day with and what are you processing with that person?
It'd probably be my mom.
Mom.
Yeah. So, yeah, she passed away last year.
So sorry for your loss.
Yeah. So it's probably just because it's so soon. Yeah, it's just because I miss her. So I would do anything to have a day with my mom. Yeah. And you know, you don't never that I took my mom for granted. And you know, going back to that question of who I was at 17 and what advice would you give that 17-year-old? You know,
spend more time with the ones you love.
And you don't think at 17 you think your mom's going to live forever.
Yeah.
You know, and you also take them for granted. And every time they want to give you a kiss goodbye, when you say goodbye at school, you're like, oh, get off me, mom.
Yeah.
Just to have a kiss or a hug again, you know, I would do anything for my mom. So, yeah. And she also, you know, she got diagnosed with cancer. So I got to spend quite a lot of time with her before she passed. And I got to ask her the questions, but I wish now, there's so much more now that I want to ask her, you know, and more I want to ask her about her as being a girl growing up and the struggles she went through. You know, we selfish when we're young.
We are.
And we are.
We really are, because it starts off with me, and later on it becomes about we.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because yes, as a me, when you're this kid, your parents are doing everything for you, so you just expect everything to be done for you, and you don't ever ask about them or their childhood or how they were brought up and the struggles that they went through. And not that my mom didn't discuss that with us, but you know, there's just the smaller, finer details that you want to know. You also want to know more about their parents, and you know, once they've gone, I'd never experienced, my granny passed away, and the rest of my grandparents had passed away long before I was born. So, you know, this was my first, you know, no loss is as big as a loved, like your immediate family or a mom and a dad. And I understand it's the rite of passage to lose a parent. They're not supposed to bury us. But yes, I've never, you know, it's only been 10 months, but it's hard and it's not easy. And that emptiness of losing them and never speaking to them again, I mean, only set in at month 8. Of losing my mom. Yeah, I just couldn't believe it, just couldn't come to terms with it. Meanwhile, I nursed her till her passing for 4 months, and it was gradual. So I saw it, but you still don't believe it. You know, I suppose it would be people that have lost a sudden death. One day they're there, next minute they're gone. I mean, I don't know what that's like.
Yeah.
But also being at the bedside and watching your mom slowly die and not being able to do anything is also, you know, you feel so you can't help them. And so yeah, being able to just see or speak to my mom again, would be. So
I'm also a spiritual person, and I'm also getting emotional because I can feel the love and the connection, and I really believe that she's in a better place than me and you are, and looking down on you and being very proud.
Yeah, my mom, you know, they say the good die young, and my mom was a good person, and heaven definitely got a whole lot sweeter with her there. Yeah.
Beautiful. Mm-hmm. Amazing. If you can overhear a conversation, it's always a question that fascinates me to see whether you're going to go professional or you're going to go social. If you could overhear a conversation that you could eavesdrop on, fly on the wall, who's in the room and what are they talking about?
I think I would like to hear something along the lines of, you know, I can't pinpoint a person, but, you know, to hear, I'm going to go along the sports person guy, because I want to know what other athletes are thinking when they're at rock bottom and they're at a point where they at, like, give me an example. I've just watched Breakpoint on Netflix. I don't know if you've seen it. It's like the Drive to Survive, but of tennis. And when you're at that point where it's the match point and you can turn the game around, you know, like I would, you know, if you could be in the locker room, not that they go and talk to their coach, or, you know, in a World Cup rugby locker room where the coach and the team inspire one another, what they say, to come back out there and turn the game around and walk away with a win. That's something I would like to hear. I just want to hear from a different, you know, me being an individual sportsman.
Yes,
you know,
because you do have a team, but your ability determines.
You're very much out there on your own.
Yes.
So I would like to just hear it, and I don't have my coach in my ear. Not that I have a coach, you know, saying, you know, voice prompting me through my headphones, you know, saying, you know, Kirst, you can overcome this. It's always just me and myself. I would like to hear it from like a, you know, a outsider's point of view, looking in, you know, analyze the game. Like, guys, we need to do this, and to find, you know, you watch all these motivational movies, like they're in the locker room and they come and turn. I would like to be like in a real life situation in a locker room, or, you know, inside the mind of a tennis player out there on the court with all those people around them. You're at a Wimbledon final, Grand Slam final, and you match point, and you can turn the game around. What is it?
I think I saw that part where the tennis coach was coaching either Serena or Serena Williams, where he actually lied to her about a statistic. So he said to her, so it went about her percentage of hitting the ball within the last third of the court was something like 12%.
Okay.
It was something low, very low digits. So the coach, and she said to him, like, I'm not feeling this game. When I get there, I'm not feeling. He's like, what are you talking about? It's like 78%.
Yeah.
So she's like, what do you mean? I suck. At that stage, he's like, what are you? I'm telling you, the data says it's 78%.
Yeah.
Even though it was 12, because he knew he had to get in her head to believe that she was good there. Boom, wins the game.
Yeah.
And then they go and pull the stats. After he spoke to her, it literally became like in the 70s. Yeah. So I'm like, I can do this. So
just a bit of a mindset change.
Yes.
You know, if he had told her that she was in the lows, then she would game would have spiraled.
So I would love to be a fly on the wall with you and overhear that. But that was for me, it's like he blatantly lied to her, but to her benefit, because then she started believing, okay, I'm at 78%. It's not as bad as I think.
Yeah, it's just, and the reason why I think I say that on the you know, like a World Cup final or a Grand Slam,
pressure.
It's that pressure. You know, I as a privateer from South Africa, you know, racing mid-pack Dakar rally, just riding to finish, that pressure, like I'm thinking of Toby Price and Kevin Benavides going into the last stage with 55 seconds between them for
nothing.
I mean, 14 stages. We've just done 8,800 Ks.
55 seconds
55 seconds over that distance that we've just done. And now that pressure to know that, you know, you've got to push as hard as you can because you want to win, but you've also got to hold back because you don't want to, you know, you've got to be careful because you don't want to crash. And then, you know, you've got the pressure of the world because it's the most televised motorsport event in the world.
Yes.
You know, and also all their stories always look glamorous, but they've also sacrificed a lot to get there. So that pressure of being the top of your game, because I mean, I feel pressure just with my life and what I've done.
There's expectation. There's accountability. Exactly. You have to say, listen, you know, I didn't finish. Those people are not going to receive that message well.
No,
so it's not an option.
What those guys and these professional sports athletes and at the top of the game in the world, that's for me is being a fly on the wall and what's going through their mind and what are they feeling and how they deal with that. It's obviously they've become used to it as they've got better in their profession. But I compare myself and be like, oh my gosh, I'd frick. Like I wouldn't even show up on the start line.
So it was the World Cup final a couple of months ago, and we're watching the game. It was Argentina against France. You know, everybody bets that France is going to win because they're coming back.
Yeah.
They're going to defend. They've got Mbappe. They've got a young squad. So, you know, it's a bunch of youngsters that are at, I mean, it's peak.
Yeah.
And then you have Messi, who's already closer to 40.
Yeah.
And then on our main group, we're going back and forth, back and forth. Did you watch the game?
I did watch the game, yeah.
So that was for me like the most intense couple of minutes of my life.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Messi fan.
Okay.
Huge. So, you know, France comes back and they take over. And
see, now that's incredible.
On the group, it's like, yes, we told you these guys have the fire. And I say to them, don't bet against the guy that's driven by passion.
Yeah.
He's not driven by money. Money can't drive him. He's already got it's checked. He's not driven by fame. Checked. He's driven by passion. And, you know, when they turn it around and they win the World Cup, I would love to be a fly on the wall with him on that last 2 or 3 minute break. What does he tell those aged players? Like, we have to do this. But it was incredible.
And that pressure, you see that pressure, you got the whole world and
everybody's watching you.
Yeah.
Then for me, he's got multiple pressures. He's got the event. Yeah. Everybody's comparing him to Ronaldo. You know, that famous photo playing chess. You know, if he gets this, the comparison stops. It's done.
Yeah.
He's the GOAT. He's the greatest.
He's also at the end of his career now. He wants to go out with a win.
Like that for me was the peak. And it's televised. So it was awesome.
Yeah.
We all know you love bikes. First car. Let's process first car, dream car.
Girly Kirsten got a little Corsa bucky.
Nice, a Corsa bucky, absolutely, because you need to load
I needed to load my bikes on the back. So a little 1800, it was very nice. My parents were very generous. Little
1800, eh?
Yeah, so it wasn't slow. It was heavy on fuel. I even used to siphon fuel out of my car to put into my bike and vice versa. Yeah, so I could race. It was a lovely little car.
What color?
Silver.
Silver, okay, cool.
Pristine condition. I loved it. Yeah, it was a very cool car.
Nice.
They don't make them anymore.
Yes, they don't. No. You're right. Unfortunately, that's a big gap in the market, but I think somebody will solve for it. For now, it's only Nissan. They were sporty and
they were, you know, the back was big enough and they drove beautifully. I miss my little car.
Yes. What's your dream car? If you
easy.
Like, oh man, what is it?
X5.
X5.
Yeah, the 5-liter D. That's
beautiful.
It. The
M50D.
Yeah, I'm not a car person.
M50D. I love your style.
Yeah, ever since the first X5 came out, my aunt got it, and that was me. I was like in love, and they just keep getting better and better every year and fancier. And one day I'll drive one.
I wish you drive one in each color that you want.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Favorite book? You like reading?
Oh, no.
Favorite movie? Let's go movie.
Movie.
One or two.
A Blue Crush.
Blue Crush.
I love the beach. So, you know, it's every other.
Blue Crush, the girl that gets bitten by a shark?
No,
that's not Blue Crush.
No, that's not Blue Crush. Blue Crush is Kate Bosworth, when they go surfing in Hawaii, and the one girl wants to surf Pipeline. It's just a good, happy feel movie. Good.
One of the actresses was in Fast and Furious.
That's it, with the dark hair. Yes. That's exactly
huge crush.
Yeah.
My wife was a huge crush. I'm like, I watched every movie that she played. I know.
Yes, that's it. Blue Crush. So Blue Crush, I enjoy that.
Letty. She was Letty in Fast and Furious.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, with a croaky voice.
Yes.
Yeah. So what other movies? I love movies. I just can't think of anything now. I like a happy, feel-good movie. I used to watch too many horrors, and then I can't sleep well at night. I can't watch animal movies because then I'll end up crying, and then I get flu for 4 weeks after that. So because they always end badly. But yeah, I just a good movie, comedy.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So what's next? What are you excited about? What are you looking forward to? I know you just done the Dakar. I mean, that's you're not still recovering, but I mean, mentally, emotionally, that takes a while. What's next? What's the next big thing that you can't wait for?
I don't have anything set on my calendar yet. I'm still just kind of figuring it out. I'm also kind of I like to have a plan, but I'm also kind of happy-go-lucky, and obviously everything's always within this industry sponsor-based. So would love to say I want to go do all of this, but costs money, and I need sponsors for that. So Dakar, everyone asks, you want to go back to Dakar? My Dakar days are definitely not done. Whether they're going to be on 2 wheels, I can't tell you. If I do go back on 2 wheels, it will be we'll stay in the Malimoto class,
Okay.
the unassisted class, because I really enjoyed that. As hard as it was an incredible experience, and I like that because it's like the true Dakar experience. 4 wheels, I want to start venturing towards the 4-wheel side.
Nice.
I want to get into a navigation side, just to start, you know, to get the feel of it, and then eventually I would like to drive. You know, give it a bash, see how I feel, see how I do at it. So yeah, that's Dakar and 2 wheels, 4 wheels motorsport. Local stuff, still racing around South Africa. I'm still young enough to still keep competing. I would love to go to the States and race some of the hard enduros in the United States. You know, just do more races, do it while I'm young. I definitely feel I'm 31, I'm young, but my body feels like it's 60, so I've got to strike while the iron's hot and that my body's still okay. So yeah, I just
suppose the joints and stuff, you wake up in the morning like, okay, I remember why this is so.
Yeah, no, it really takes a toll on your body, and like I say, you don't feel it at 17, you lacquer, but that 17-year-old hooligan catches up with you when you turn 30.
My friend, may I call you my friend?
Of course.
It's been an incredible, I don't know how many minutes we've been at it. I've learned a lot.
Too much.
No, not at all. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. You will definitely leave us better than you find us. You've got an incredible story.
Thank you.
All the best of luck to you in your adventures going forward, and we are huge fans.
No.
We're going to be screaming your name and watching you on the TV.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it, and thanks for listening.
Thank you for your kindness.